Hey everybody, this is Kit from Kit's Cars, and today I'm here to take a look at the 2022 Lotus Emira. So Lotus just announced their first new car in quite some time. This is the Emira. It's a two-seater that's based on the current Evora body and chassis, but the suspension uprights and everything that connects the car to the road have been completely redesigned for the Emira. First of all, what remains of the Evora? Well, the high on character, but low on sex appeal Camry motor continues. The 3.5 liter supercharged V6 will be the top motor for the Emira, and I expect it to have a similar price point to the Evora today. The Evora has grown up into a pretty interesting car, unfortunately overshadowed quite a bit by the Cayman. The Cayman is a much more usable platform in a lot of ways than the Evora is. The Evora is a 2+2, which is nice, except for the back seats are completely unusable. When I sit in the Evora, the driver's seat basically contacts the rear seat, so it would be almost impossible for someone with legs to sit back there. Even my kids complained that it was cramped and hard to see out of, so that was less than ideal. And they've given up on that with the Emira. The Emira will be a pure two-seater. Well, let's talk a little bit about the exterior first. Man, this is a really pretty car. I opened up the press release from Lotus and was really pleasantly surprised to see such an attractive looking car. It uses some styling cues from their new electric car, which is cool, and it's wild enough to look like an exotic. And Evora claims that passenger room and headroom is class leading. So we shall see. I'm sure that the Cayman was one of the cars that they benchmarked because there's not a whole lot else in the sub $100,000 mid-engine sports car class right now. But I'm sure they also were looking to take buyers slightly upmarket from the other two-seaters in the market, the Supra, and to directly compete with the Corvette. Although, given the power ratings of this car, I'm not sure how well it's going to compete with a Corvette because Corvette buyers want the big old V8. But man, this exterior is really pretty. I like the almost McLaren-ish side vent treatments, but very elegant design, very balanced. I really like the wheels on this car, which they spent a lot of time emphasizing. But the overall design is not only harmonious, but just interesting. The rear end treatment is clean. The exhausts and diffuser look great to me. The taillights are well integrated and not too obnoxious. And there's enough aero suggestion from the rear spoiler or the rear, I guess the rear trunk treatment to look attractive. So I really like the way that it's balanced. It's very aggressive. The exciting thing about this car is it's really hitting a market that's not particularly well served today. The current competition, and actually the interesting thing is they're taking it quite a bit down market from where the Evora is today. They expect this car to start at 80,000 US, which is a bargain. And one of the ways that they're going to do that is by giving you a choice of engines. The Emira is going to share a motor with from AMG. So the turbo four-cylinder that powers the GLA 45 will end up in the Emira. That's really going to be an interesting application of this motor. It's going to make 360 horsepower in that application and only be available with a DCT, which with modern turbo engines, I really believe that the DCT is the right way to go, but manual purists will cry at not having that motor available. You know, the supercharged V6 is great with a manual, and hopefully the shift linkage works better in this car. I found the last Evora that I drove to still have a fairly clunky shifter, although it certainly improved over the life of the Evora. And I haven't driven the most modern Evora yet, so maybe it'll be great. But the DCT and the turbo four-cylinder will really appeal to people. I mean, it's a quick car in the GLA 45, which weighs 3,800 pounds. And this car is supposed to be just over 3,000. So it should be pretty quick. I actually wouldn't be surprised if the base motor ended up performing similarly to the supercharged V6 when you actually put it to it, since it'll have that quick shifting DCT transmission. So the GLA 45 with a similar motor gets to 60 in 4.3 seconds and does a 12.8 quarter mile. I suspect the Emira will be quite a bit faster than that, given that it's almost 800 pounds, or probably 800 pounds lighter, and um, it won't launch as hard because it's rear-wheel drive only, but being that it's rear-wheel drive should have pretty good launch characteristics, as all that weight transfer from the mid-engine car will go backward when you launch it. So I expect to see pretty good times out of it. Wouldn't be surprised to see on sticky tires of it breaking below 4 seconds in the sprint to 60, which should be good. The turbo 4-cylinder certainly won't sound as good as the V6. The one thing that I really find charming about the Evora is the way the motor sounds. I'm a big old school V6 fan, even though it's not as popular engine configuration, especially in exotics. For a sub $100,000 car, a supercharged V6 is a pretty nice motor to me. The interior of the Emira looks surprisingly finished for a Lotus. One of the big complaints about Lotuses historically have been the sort of kit car feeling interiors that feel like they were slapped together in the parking lot of a Good Guy's audio install shop. But this actually looks like a pretty good interior. It doesn't use a double din head unit. It has a real screen. It has a full LCD screen for the gauges as well, which honestly I'm not a huge fan of. I much prefer a mechanical tack to look at, especially in a manual car. But in the base configuration, especially, it should be appropriate for the mission. I personally really hope they give it enough headroom so somewhat of my stature can fit. But the interior has some interesting details, such as the flip up cover over the ignition switch and the stereo system. So Lotus actually partnered with KEF, of which I have a set of KEF Q150 speakers on my desk, which I really like. So got high hopes for this interior or this stereo to sound really good. We'll certainly see. Build quality, at least from the design standpoint, looks fantastic in the prototype. I'll certainly be interested to see what it ends up looking like when it lands. From a performance perspective, it'll be interesting that Lotus is going to bring over 3 different transmission combinations. I mean, one of the things that makes importing cars in the US expensive is the combinations of engines and transmissions that need to be certified by the EPA. And they'll have the DCT on the base 4-cylinder turbo and the manual and conventional torque converter automatic available on the 3.5 liter V6 with 400 horsepower. So that'll be interesting to see. We also know that that V6 is capable of making at least a bit more power, as the current Evora makes more than 400 horsepower. So there'll be some potential there for additional power. And really, the exciting part about this is the starting price. At $80,000, it lands right on a Cayman, and I can't see a reason that anyone would choose a Cayman over this car unless you really cared about Porsche's warranty, because this car is way better looking, way more exotic looking, and the same weight. And Lotus has never made a bad handling car, so I can't imagine that being a problem. Unless you really wanted a manual for 80K, it's probably no reason to choose the Cayman over this. Now, if you are a manual purist, since the manual is only available with a larger motor, you'll be spending a little bit more money. I suspect it's probably in the low 100,000s, so still in reach of a lot of buyers. I think Lotus has a hit on their hands. I really think this is going to be an interesting car to see, and I'm excited to see what Lotus does with it.